I went to the racetrack sometimes with friends just for fun.
Just for fun. And you ran up $10,000 worth of gambling debts with a bookie named Hank Montgomery just for fun, right?
No. Guy got into hock over that money. He said he needed a new car for his escort service.
Then why did you tell your bookie that your husband would cover your gambling debts?
I never said that.
Uh-huh. And I'm sure that the bookie's men never beat your husband silly because you couldn't pay those debts either, right?
No. Those thugs came around looking for someone else. They must have realized that they made a mistake because they never came back again.
They never came back, Mrs. Layton, but that's because Daddy cut a deal, right? That's because Daddy agreed to pay your gambling debts, and all you had to do was divorce Mr. Low-Rent Bloodlines here, right?
Don't be silly. Daddy would never be involved in anything so despicable.
No, of course not. I have no further questions.
All right, you may step down. I want to see counsel on the bench, please.
While Mrs. Layton leaves the stand, we have time for a short break.
Boss, $10,000, and she'd said that I would take care of it. When I said I didn't know what they were talking about, they beat me up. And they kicked me. I was scared to death. Even more for Joni than for myself.
I'm sure you were. Now, did you say anything to your wife about this?
You bet. I said we should use the college fund, but Joni said not to. She said that she'd ask her father for the money. Well, several days later, I had to go because she kept putting it off. But behind my back, she'd gone to him and told him that those debts were mine. Well, Mr. Campbell told me that Joni was leaving me.
Did you believe Mr. Campbell?
No. When I got home, she called me a working-class, stupid jock. And then she was gone. I knew then that she was going to be out of my life forever. But at least I thought I had my college fund to put my life together.
And tell the court, Mr. Layton. You still have plans to go to college with that money?
Not anymore. When I went to the bank, though, the money was all gone. Joni said that her bookie had it all. I worked very hard for that money. But Miss Silverspoon had gambled away my last hope for anything for myself.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. Mr. Layton, didn't you contribute to your wife's mental instability by blaming your child's death on her?
No, nobody's to blame for crib death.
When your wife said she'd like to have another baby, didn't you say, "What's the point? You'll probably kill that one, too"?
No, I said I wanted another one.
Mr. Layton, the day after you went out with Clarissa Carey the second time, didn't you make a $500 deposit into your college fund savings account?
Yes, but that was a week's earnings from the escort service.
Last November, didn't you tell your wife you were going away for the weekend to interview at Valley State University?
I wasn't going there to interview. I was going there to check out the campus.
Your Honor, this photograph has already been entered and marked as Exhibit 1. May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Layton, isn't this picture of you and Amanda Andrews one which appeared on the society page of the Daily Tribune on the following Monday?
After I went to Valley State, I came back through the city and had dinner with Mrs. Andrews and Mr. Andrews.
Was her husband with Mrs. Andrews the night that your wife saw the two of you by the firelight on the beach?
That night never happened, only in Joni's fevered little brain.
Isn't this the same Amanda Andrews who left a message on your answering machine saying that she had had such a good time with you by the lake that she was going to recommend you to all of her friends?
She said nothing about the lake. She called because she thought that Joni and I would be happy because we had new clients.
Thank you very much, Mr. Layton. I don't have any further questions for
Mr. Layton,
you.
let me see that picture, please, and you may step down. I want to see counsel on the bench, please.
While Mr. Layton leaves the stand, we have time for a break.
Buy any original classic model contoured.
Return now to divorce court. About to testify on behalf of Guy Layton is Margaret Drake, a former employee of Joan Layton's father.
All right, Ms. Koloff.
Miss Drake, did you try to help Mrs. Layton after her child's death?
Yes, I did. I called her nearly every day. And I told her if she wanted to do something, to just call me. Whenever she wanted to do it, we'd do it. So she called me one day and asked me to go to the racetracks with her. We began to go regularly. And I'd bet $2 on one or two of the horses. But Joni had dropped $200 or $300 in an afternoon. I mean, heaven knows what she gave to her bookies. I don't know.
Did she ever tell you where she got all that money?
She said that her father gave it to her. But one day she came over in hysterics saying that Mr. Campbell was out of town, that she needed $5,000 immediately to pay off her bookies, and would I help her out? And I figured her father was good for it, so I did. I gave her the money.
And did she pay you back?
No. And when I asked her if Guy knew anything about it, she went off the deep end screaming, "I hate him, and if you tell my father, I'll get you." I didn't tell him, but the next day he fired me anyway for incompetence after 15 years.
Thank you. No more questions.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Wasn't it you who pushed Joan to start gambling by introducing her to your bookie, Miss Drake?
Of course not. Believe me, Joan Layton is somebody who knows her own mind.
Didn't you tell Mr. Campbell that you lent Joan $5,000 in order to get more money for your own gambling?
No, I wouldn't jeopardize my job for a couple of $2 bets a week.
Miss Drake, didn't Mr. Campbell fire you not for incompetence, but for causing his daughter so much suffering?
He fired me because Joan lied about me.
Miss Drake, aren't you testifying here today to get even with Joan and her father?
No. Guy Layton is really a good person. He's just got to get away from the Campbell money and all of their power.
Thank you very much, Miss Drake. I don't have any further questions, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down. Anything further from the defendant?
No, Your Honor.
Miss Stewart, let me hear your closing argument.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. Your Honor, after abusing his wife mentally, this man has not only committed adultery, he has made a profession out of it. Well, obviously, under those circumstances, my client is entitled to this divorce, her car, and at least $1,000 a month in support. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Koloff?
Your Honor, the evidence speaks for itself. Yes, we want a divorce, too, on the grounds of mental cruelty and retention of the family car, $500 a month spousal support for my client while he's in school, and 4 years of college tuition. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel.
While Judge Keene considers the testimony, we have time for a break. We'll be back with Judge Keene's decision right after the... We return now to divorce court, where Judge Keene is about to render his decision.
Even in Las Vegas, one would be hard put to find a bookie who would lay odds on this marriage lasting for the 3 years that it did. And that, of course, was even before the tragic blow that befell this young couple with the death of their 6-month-old son in his crib. And just the other day, I read tragically that 7,000 babies a year die in this country due to crib death. But this would have taken a very strong, mature, and supportive relationship to have withstood such a tragedy, and this was not that type of a marriage. It is over, it's beyond repair, and a reconciliation is not feasible. Now, the issues with which I am confronted are the adultery of Mr. Layton and the mental cruelty of both Mr. and Mrs. Layton. Did these acts occur? Well, 4 witnesses have testified, and I have the responsibility of sorting out the truth. There is ample evidence, I'm satisfied, of mental cruelty on both sides. There is ample evidence of Mrs. Layton's compulsive gambling. On the issue of adultery, Mrs. Layton's devious explanations for her gambling and her use of family money to pay off her gambling debts leave the rest of her testimony suspicious as far as I'm concerned. I believe the testimony of Margaret Drake, and I disbelieve the testimony of Clarissa Carey. I therefore conclude that adultery has not been proved and order a joint judgment of divorce on the grounds of mental cruelty. Now, the equities here call for an equal division of $32,000. That is, the college fund, $10,000, gambled away. The sold boat, $10,000, gambled away, and the car, $12,000. The car is ordered to Mr. Layton, and Mrs. Layton will reimburse her husband $4,000 for the balance of his equal division. I would like to think that she would get a job and earn that money, but the realities are that Daddy will probably pay it, will probably continue to support her, run her life, and continue to spoil her. This court stands in recess.
Divorce Court is a dramatization based on cases and issues raised in the family courts of this nation. None of the participants knows the outcome of the case before hearing Judge Keene's decision. The jurisdiction is a combination of laws of all 50 states. Therefore, the laws in your community may differ. The cases are argued by attorneys and presided over by Judge William Keene, who served on the Superior Court of California for 18 years.
KST Washington's move.